Yeah. Just a little bit. I have to go all the way up. Yeah. I should go. I was going to switch it. Yeah.
So we only have 20 minutes till 4. And I don't like doing this, but does anybody need to leave right at 4?
Oh.
No. No, you don't.
I mean, I strongly prefer to leave as close to 4 as possible, just because it's been a long 10 days and I've barely been home.
Yeah.
But, I'm not against staying a little bit later.
We do an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here until 5.
Yeah, so 3:40, so extra.
Because you're going to put all those traveling people behind a lot longer than 15 minutes on a Friday. So we'll get an hour of time. It's a deal. Good negotiating. The best. Okay, we need to all of my husband wants to talk to you about
Oh, I'm sure he does. I've given you lots of bad ideas. He's like, who's this woman?
Exactly. And my kids want to know why you're going to be at my deathbed.
You told them.
I did.
That's funny.
I'm like, who's going to be there doing what?
This crazy woman.
Candles and oils.
There you go. It's funny that you said that because this woman I work for, she keeps saying, "You need to be a death doula." I'm like, oh, let me work up here as chaplain. We'll think about that down the road, maybe. That's what they do.
Another conversation.
Well, I just want to say as a reflection that I felt like this day was really like a good turning point for us as a group. There was just a lot of, good things that were shared. Good and bad, like challenging things too. And it was really good.
Honesty.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting how, in many ways, our evaluations of each other lined up or hit on similar notes. And I thought that spoke to honesty, and it also spoke to, how well we are observing and relating and seeing each other. I felt like we all picked up on similar themes. Out of one another.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, there were a lot of repeat words. There's a spider on the door. I know he's just been over there. So you want to post if I kill it?
No, I'm not. Buddhists would not be happy.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
know.
say that.
It's still alive.
I work with Buddhists over the summer.
Well, now it's outside.
47 of them, and
It's out of the room.
we
Still
do
alive.
not kill spiders. in
And you
summer.
do not eat meat. Yeah, okay.
That was exciting.
If it comes back, I'll
Okay,
give
keep
you a
going.
heads up. I always just feel that I learn so much from everyone else in this group that, whether it's a phrase that someone says and I think, wow, that would be a real, I should use that phrase, or just something someone says about how they would interact with a patient, or I don't know, any number of things, or a practice they've done with patients, and I think, wow, that's a really good idea. I should remember that or try that. I got a lot of those today.
Yeah, inspiring to hear how each of you works with patients. It's kind of, and I'm like, wow, you did that really well. I could do that better.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting how I mean, we talked about from the very first class, I think, of like, everyone will find their own Chaplin style. And it's one thing to hear that at the beginning, but then to like today, I feel like we really saw that we are all finding our own style. That's really cool to
In the
see.
beginning, I wanted to say, well, could you give me a list of what's available in style? And I'll pick one. Because it was like, and that's what I mean when I say more structure, you know, I mean, it was like, you want me to just figure out my style? I mean, like, isn't there a list I can pick from? So, but yeah, it's very interesting to do it by that experiential part. I mean, you know, because in my two other lives, they tell you pretty much what you can do and not do, you know, and it's a much more structured, and this is much more free-flowing. So for me, this is like being a kid in a candy land. I'm like, okay, I get to pick, and I get to figure it out, but like, I've almost forgotten how to do that. Like, that's a freedom that it's been a long time since someone gave me that freedom.
And I was hearing earlier in the day that freedom can feel like a lack of structure and can be frustrating as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually scary because it's like, you know, they want me to, you know, it's like saying, well, go out and figure out how to treat this patient and try all these different medicines and treatments on them until you figure out what you're doing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're gonna let me, you know. So it's, you know, that's what I'm saying. I'm going in, you know, and it's nice to hear other people say it's hard to go in cold because in the beginning I thought I'm just going in, you know, but you know I feel so much more comfortable now. It's like, oh, that part's a lot easier, you know, than it was in the beginning.
It's funny because it's the freedom is scary, but I love it, right? But it is scary because you don't really know. Like, I mean,
I feel like they just threw us out there.
I know.
No offense, but threw us out there and was like, okay, let's see what comes back. It's like, oh,
I know. But in a way, it's kind of cool. You learn really fast that way. You
I
do.
am far from offended.
You
Did the right thing.
I think that's what I said in One Divine about now wanting to perhaps shadow some people, because I do think that once I've been thrown out into things, it comes back to reffing, right? So like similar principle, when you start reffing, you take a class, then you're just thrown out to ref. And after you've been doing it for a while, you start to have questions and say, I wonder what technique I'm doing right or wrong, or where could I improve, or where, you know, am I falling down? And to me, this strikes as a similar situation. So now I've been going out visiting people, and I feel like I have a sense of how I chaplain, and now I'm sort of curious to see some other things and see, okay, well, what are some other tools that are out there that
yeah, there's some videos
I want-
available. Best 10 practices of chaplains in the
With
United
faces
States.
blocked out. Well, it's. I feel
There
like
may be.
I feel like the verbatims give us a chance to be that fly in the wall. You know,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
which is great.
There's some verbatims online.
Mm-hmm.
When I wanted to like get an example, that's the way that I learned. I couldn't have written one without seeing somebody how they wrote one.
I have to laugh. Like at some point today, after you presented, just struck me like, man, oh man, you've gotten all these really challenging things on your shift that I haven't done anything close to, and I'm like, you know, is that because like, you know, God knew that you had that ED training and you could handle it? Like, it's unbelievable some of the crazy things that have happened on your shift.
I don't know. I'm constantly telling them, you trust me way too much.
It's kind of interesting. I'm like, man, oh man, that happened to me.
So now that we've gotten to know each other a little bit, what are the different styles that you see in each other? What are the different strengths that you see in each other?
think I said that in my eval. I mean, Gina brings a totally different perspective, a more cosmic, unstructured one that I find.
What's the
I'm just laughing because I sometimes I say that to my husband. I think sometimes I'm not so sure of chaplain CE. I don't know.
No,
I just come at it a
No,
different way.
no, because that's
Yeah.
not how you should take it. I'm saying that you bring a perspective to it. I come from a very structured religion, although I think I'm on the freedom end of it, pretty much from what I can gauge. But you are probably the complete other end of the spectrum from me in some ways. But I think we need more of free flow. I think, like another thing I noticed you said you'd like to learn more prayers, and I think, oh no, you don't. Because sometimes,
People don't know 'em.
well, it's not just that, but sometimes they're so rote. Like the rosary is meant to be rote. It's supposed to get you into a meditative spirit, but most people don't understand that. They think that though saying that many is like they're checking off something and they're getting I don't know, points or something for it.
and the meditative spirit is a lot of what Gina
Right, exactly.
enters with.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You don't need those prayers. And I think the spontaneous prayers, and that's why I said I wanted you at my bedside, not meaning either of you, but not that I didn't want you, but all the people in my religious affiliation, they would be there. I could choose
You're
a
reading
little prayer
the-
book,
yeah,
every one of
reading
the
the-
prayers.
yeah.
I tell you exactly what they're going to read.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, it's like, well, like I said before, Psalm 23 doesn't do anything for me. Everybody thinks it's so great, and I have it clearly marked to not read at my funeral because it doesn't speak to me.
And I want to pause that.
Oh, sorry.
No. Just to highlight something that when you made your statement about Gina, you heard it as a negative. And you kind of ran. You ran
did?
with it that
Well,
way.
not the whole thing, but part of it. But it's okay. It's okay. It's not, I take it as constructive
I think that
anyway.
that's something that kind of came across though, in that when we're saying that we're all different, and yes, you might be more different in a style than each of us, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And that's actually, I guess, and I would say that's something that I have come to learn and appreciate more in our time together, because all the patients we see are different, and not every patient is going to respond to me, and they might respond better to you, even though we're different styles and different people.
And I think you actually said that earlier. I think at one point earlier today you said that if you walk out of a visit and you thought, oh well, maybe it wasn't the best. That well, there's other chaplains out there who have other skills and strengths and other ways of being.
I mean, that doesn't happen that often, but yeah, it's true. I mean,
No, it is absolutely true. I've walked out of rooms and thought, I don't know that I really had the best connection with that person, but I know that in a couple days or tomorrow someone else will come in and maybe that person will have that style or that
approach that works.
something that,
Yeah.
that resonates more.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are alike.
Mhm.
I think there are some, there's differences in each direction. So it's not like, oh, well, the three of us are alike and Gina's not. Or the two of us are alike and they're not. Because,
Yeah, I still have that Catholic thing too.
Right. I'm glad that you
I do
pointed that
have
out.
peace.
That
I do have
that you guys do have a lot in
Mhm.
common.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
The
we're-
motherhood, the
right.
Catholic
I mean, I
background.
know Liz is married too, but you're not a mother.
Yeah.
The fact that we're married, we both grew up Catholic, blah, blah, blah. So, but that's why I find it
Yeah, it's interesting.
exciting, but it's very interesting to see where each of us ended up,
Mm-hmm.
But I have great respect for you. We never want you to take anything the wrong way. Because there's a part of me that wishes I could be more free spirit. I think I had that squashed out of me at a very young age. I didn't grow up in a family that, towing the line was really what they wanted you to do. Being different was not what they wanted you be. So, and I have, I've eased off that, always have, and always been the first to do everything. First to get divorced, first to, most of which work good, so they would say, But I think, but I think each of us is different. And like I said in my thing, it's almost like you've got my dream job. I mean, when I was a child and my uncle was on the altar and my brothers were on the altar and everybody was wearing their garbs and everything, and I was like, I want to be up there, And,
How does that feel for her to say that you've got the dream job?
I mean, it makes me sad that that you can't. I wish that you could do that because, like you said, that your family has said you would have made a great priest.
But it was not an opportunity, and it
No.
will not be in my lifetime,
No.
even if I make it to 100. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. But you do, and I feel very vested in the fact that you are going to be ordained, and eventually you will be. I mean, it's like, wow, but I get to have some of it in a secondary way, thanks to you. And to me, that's very significant. And that's why I said in my thing, you bring me into that younger realm that, I'm okay with my grandchildren, but there's that gap where they're not there yet, and my children are out of that range that you're in. You bring that new perspective that I don't feel out of touch. I can feel in touch because you point out when something or someone, that it shows that piece of someone is gender biased. Or I would never get that. I mean, it wouldn't stand out. But when you point it out, I feel like I'm learning a new way, a new focus. I hear it a little more now. I see it a little more now. So, I like the diversity. I think I said to Eric at the first one, I was sad there were no guys in the group. Because sometimes I have felt growing up that guys. I meant as a student, and you knew that. So,
You have such a good time here at Griffin Hospital.
Sorry.
but no, that's all. That I just, it was like, because I wanted a lot of, diversity. But now that I've gotten to know everybody and we've gotten along, we bring a lot of diversity to the plate.
One of the strengths of this way of learning is that you learn to, or maybe I can just put it from my perspective, I end up carrying other folks with me. Because I could think, what would Gina say? What would Gina think? What would Gina do? Right? And you end up, because you've seen each other, you've seen each other's work, and you imagined yourselves, and there's so much that's similar, and you do see all the differences that you bring. It's really a fantastic way to expand your perspective. It's easy to get into ruts of habits and style, but it's also possible to break those boxes and think outside the box. And it's exciting.
One of the things I think is really interesting, being a team. Did you mention it, or was it you? No, I think it was you, because you spent more time with team.
Maybe, yeah.
It was
I
you.
don't know what it is, so.
It's just the, you really see the different social classes. I see it in the hospital because in the ED a lot. I feel like I see it all. But a team, we do too, right? Like so many different social classes, and the drug and the, and the patients with almost no teeth, and it's just, it's humbling, I think is how I see it. And yet they're great people, they have great stories, and just in a way, it makes me glad that I grew up with very little money, and we struggle a lot, but in a way, I feel like I can relate to them. I know what it's like to like not have enough food in the house, or not sure where the mortgage was coming from. So it's interesting, like I feel like it's just I don't know. Like I think sometimes in this class, I never really thought too much of my privilege. And of course, we're all privileged. We're here. We have an education. I mean, we're all privileged. We're white. For me, I've noticed in my life how being a woman has been used against me. So I don't look at myself as that privileged, but of course we are. But but at least having been through some tough times, I can kind of look at them on their level, I guess, like just as people, just to not see anything else, any class, any color, anything, and some of the things people tell me are just unbelievable, like I did a verbatim, this woman says to me, we were talking for a long time, and then all of a sudden she says, talking about her kids as strength for her, and then all of a sudden she says to me, and I guess she waited, she paused to maybe see how I was gonna, if she could trust me, and she goes, I had her at 15. And you know how like unbelievable that is that she's where she is now. Like given, I wasn't married, and it was just, and I just, I was so impressed. It just made her story like that much more amazing to me. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, Gina, I don't know if it was you or Liz who were talking about like the social location of patients at Team, but I've actually had some really interesting conversations with patients here who have been, stressed about getting transportation to a particular woman who was going to need, what's that when they circulate? Dialysis, yeah. That was a real stressor. She was here for almost a month.
I talked to her too.
Yeah,
They couldn't
yeah,
let her go because
yeah.
she had no way to get to her dialysis.
Yeah, or just, another person who came in here and knew that they didn't have a home to go to because it was going to be, their stuff was going to be thrown out and they didn't know where they were going to be living. It's like, that's, sometimes patients really open up and share a lot of that stuff, but on a totally different segue. One of the things that I really appreciated about our conversations today was just seeing how, I think especially for you two, because you came in here knowing that this was something you wanted to pursue, hospital chaplaincy. And so it was really great to hear how you're both really enjoying this and finding it rewarding and that it's good. And I think just all of that reflection and group reflection to me helped me just to like be a little bit more okay with like, it's okay that like I'm not enjoying it because it's not, I don't have to like every single thing I have to do, and some things you just do, and it's okay that you're not like the best at everything. And yeah, so that was helpful reflection. Thank you for that.
Anytime.
I was thinking back to when I was at University of New Hampshire getting my master's degree. There was a woman in the MFA program who was a pastor in some sense. I'm not entirely sure if she was technically ordained or not, but she was a pastor. And I said, I'm interested in going into ministry. And she said the reason she was getting her MFA is because we'd forgotten the importance of stories. And at the time, I didn't really understand what she was saying. She was like, we've forgotten the importance of stories. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. Because I wasn't ready to sort of hear that yet. And I learned, and this was like 2013, so long ago. This summer, I was thinking back to her comments on my supervised ministry and thinking, wow, the stories that people have, that they hold, that they tell, the stories of their faith, the stories of their lives are so important, and that's even hitting home further for me here. To the point where someone's want to reach back out to that person and say, I get it now, I understand why you were saying that stories are so important, and the stories that people carry, and the burdens and the joys that live in those stories. Yeah, and I just think back to her and I'm like, I know what you mean now.
You know, when you were saying, yeah, I know what you mean, that was an example of one of the things Janice shared earlier, to just say, what is it, appeasing? You just say, yeah, then,
Oh, at the time, absolutely.
yeah, to move it along. Yeah, but you did remember. You were listening.
Mhm.
You were listening well enough to remember.
Placating.
Thinking, there you go.
Placating.
Well, and I know why I said it. It was placating. It was also I didn't want to appear incompetent, and I was the very beginning of that whole discernment process where, like, feeling like you're called or not was very. Some days I didn't want to sort of admit it, and so to say to her, oh yeah, I know what you mean, felt safest on some level, or I don't know, most protected.
Yeah, and that's, I think, so patients feel that way, having no sense of what's going on, not being, whether it's being afraid, being out of control, not being in control, unstructured.
Mhm.
That's part of the rationale of learning in this less than structured environment is it's not about doing XYZ correctly. It's about learning to be with discomfort and be able to stay there with other people and to go deep, to hear, to stay with the emotion. Right? It's not easy.
One of the things I don't think I touched on it when we talked before, but one thing that's hard is just being with someone who's in a lot of pain. You know, and I don't know if you see that as much on the floors, and you see it in the ED a lot. You know, it's
The physical pain?
yes, physical pain. Well, you know, emotional pain is a whole different story, but that's what we think we can help with that. We think we have tools for that, but the physical pain is hard.
Let's, if it's all right,
Mhm.
can we go back to Laura's verbatim?
Mhm.
What was it like to be together in that, to be with
Mm-hmm.
Laura in that? What was it like for you, Laura, to share that?
It was hard to share that, and obviously you all saw like how upset I got, but I think that it was worth it to like hear the affirmation of that was just, you know, it wasn't a good situation, and he did cross the line, and um, yeah, I think particularly because we were sitting just like this, I felt really supported by you, and that you know, for you to say, I wish I would have known, and I would have done more or said more, and I maybe I'm imagining or reading into what you said, but I was seeing that it was maybe hard for you to hear how upset that was because you wished that you could have done more. And
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You will be my trip to the chapel tonight when I put that piece in because I do. I feel, you know, this time I could feel your pain, really feel it. And then I could also see it. So it was, you know, it was really tearing me apart because I felt like I had let you down. And I would, never want to do that. And I would never want someone to walk alone, especially something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the hardest thing, I think, for me, is that I was brought up that you walk alone, that you don't ever, you know, you keep those things. If you just keep them to yourself,
Yeah.
that they can't hurt you. Well, of course, it's the opposite of that. Keep it to yourself and they destroy you eventually. But, you know, so for me, especially this being a male-female thing, which I have a whole story that someday we'll probably get to talk about. But, you know, I would have especially have wanted to be there for you. sorry that, it wasn't. But then I'm also telling myself, just like when we enter someone's room, it may have not been the right time for you. You know what I mean? It may not just have been that I wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
It might have been
certainly.
that it was too hard. You might
It was
not
too
have been
fresh,
able,
it had
right?
just happened.
You might not have been able to go on through the
wasn't-
rest of the hours,
yeah.
so you were protecting yourself
Yeah.
by putting it into the box
Yes, I think that's what it was.
and saying, "I have something," but da da da.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't because I didn't trust you or.
No, I'm not saying it's a personal that you didn't trust me, but just I feel badly that but no, I mean it was obviously a significant encounter.
Yeah, I was particularly grateful that you did because I would not have guessed, and it was a different side of you that you shared with us, and I think that it was the group was able to be with you and offer you something.
Yeah.
So thank you. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, I felt supported by everyone. I think, yeah, I could sense that you all were engaged with it, and that obviously I think I could just feel from the room. It was hard for everyone to go through that, to see me upset like that. But I really did feel supported and heard, which I think is an important thing.
I'm saying something a little bit different. That there's what you got from it, but there's also what we got,
Right.
and the group benefited from it as well.
Oh yeah.
It was a gift to us.
Yeah.
It's less obvious than maybe it sounds, but when one person shares pain with another, it's a gift to that other person, right? It can be, and for the listener to respond with space and grace is also a gift, and neither should be taken for granted. They're rare occasions, right? In our world, in our culture, there's so much disconnection, separation. We all just manage, particularly in that it's the Me Too age, and yet the reason we're having the Me Too is that it's not the norm to name it. It's vulnerable, it's difficult, it's so to say Me Too is it's an act of trust. was this time like? Looking back and taking a bird's eye view, how was it different? What was striking? Process time.
I don't know, for me it reminds me of like when I'm crocheting or knitting, you don't stop in the middle of a row. So you always have to end it off. So I feel like, this is that way. In a regular classroom, time ends, the guy can be, woman can be halfway through the sentence and everybody picks up and leaves, and that's it. Time's up. So this, I like the processing to bring it to a closure.
That's a very good image.
It felt a little nerve-wracking because it felt like doing the mid-unit evaluation just took so much reflection. Like I had to work on it and walk away for a couple of days and then go back and work on it again. Like I couldn't do it all at once because I would get other thoughts or answers. Did you find that too? You're like shaking your head.
Yeah, I had to take it bit by bit because
Yeah.
I found that if I couldn't have done that in one sitting.
I think it was richer for having to come back to it.
Just
A number of times. Yeah. And I was actually really freaked out about what am I gonna do for this reflection thing? But then all of a sudden it just came to me one night. So that was cool. But so it felt like I had so much invested in doing this, and so coming in was, I wasn't really sure if I did it right, I wasn't sure. So it felt a little nerve-wracking presenting it.
I wonder, one of the things I realized since I was the last one to share mine, was that I feel like I got a lot out of writing the reflection, but I think I actually got more out of hearing everyone's. And is that, to me, that was affirming of like, it's great that I did the reflection, but it doesn't really matter so much the quality of my reflection and if I did it right. Does that resonate at all with you, Gina, or do you still feel like I didn't do it right?
No. I think it was really, really helpful listening to everyone, and I think it doesn't really matter what I did. It was all good, and it made me think about it. I think that's the point, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, so I think it's fun. I had my husband read it, and he started cracking up because my NP, like theological reflection, and he was like, "I love it. Be interesting to see what everyone else says about it."
True to you.
Yeah, it is. Well, because he has very different beliefs than me too, so it's interesting. But he loved it anyway, so I said, okay, good. Well, hopefully they will too. But it was really neat hearing everyone else. And can I just say that, like, it's nice that you're so honest with us and saying what a struggle like this is for you, being here.
The class is easy. Seeing patients is hard.
But that's partly because you're an introvert, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
it's,
the cold call.
it's not, I can do it. It's just that
It's
I
not
don't-
your thing.
there's a million jobs in the world, and this is a job that I'm doing, and I have to keep doing. But
But you're doing it for a different reason.
yes,
But I feel very, very confident that this will make you a better person.
oh, and this has helped. Today helped me too.
everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even team and all,
Yeah.
because I would want you to be one of those good pastors that lives in the real world,
Yeah.
that doesn't close themselves off. I mean, even the others who have, pastoral roles. I've talked to a couple of them, Patrick and I had a discussion one night. It keeps them, I don't want to say honest, because that's not the right word. I don't know what word I would use. But it keeps them grounded in the reality of you have to know what's going on in those pews. Because being on that altar, I mean, especially when we used to have, the railings to separate us, that's the worst is that you keep yourself separate. You keep yourself in a cocoon where, I only have to preach and, I don't have to deal with all their problems of paying the rent or doing this or doing that, because I think there's such a reality in it. And I think visiting and like home visits, we're talking about this person who's a hoarder. If you've never been in a house like that, it's very freaky the first time. I mean, especially, I've had to walk sideways, because you can't walk full frontal. There's not enough room. And leave a person in there knowing that if there was a fire tonight, there's no way out.
Yeah.
Because everything would crash down. There's only one door. Everything else is blocked. But where I come from, New York, they can't remove them. The only way you can remove them is if you include them in competent, and they're not. And by court standards, they're not. And so, we've had to leave people live like that. It's their choice, and it's hard. And the first time I dragged my priest, he was like, "Do I really need to do this?" I'm like, "Hell, you do. Why am I going there? Why are the other Eucharistic ministers going there who I asked to go there?" And I always had to go first to write it up and say, "You can't know what they're doing if you don't go once. You can't ask somebody else to do it."
People don't change if you force it on them.
What are we
It's not
talking
deep.
about? Force what on?
If you force people to change,
The hoarder. The hoarder to change?
anybody.
Anybody?
This is the connection where we are our clients. We are the patient, right? Our experience of choosing, part of the reason it's less structured, it's more self-directed, is that the hope is if you learn something, if something changes, if you change something, it's going to last, right? 5 years from now, 1 year from now, this experience will have had an effect to make you a better fill in the blank. And that doesn't happen unless you own it and you even discover it and you define it. So, yeah, thank you for showing up, for bringing your, whether it's anxieties or energy or pain, bring it to the group so the group can, work on it. And it means so many different things to different people. We're all learning through each other. And we're at the halfway point. The second half is more, we'll do more theological reflection. And I left it more open because theological reflection is so personal. It's not answer these 5 questions, or it's where are you? Who is God? What's bigger than? And also looking at the question of transformation. How do we transform? Do people change? Can people change? What about us? How can we get better at what we do? So, on that note,
Thank you.
Ron, I hope
It's just been a really, this week and last week, I was barely home. And so I just haven't,
it's exhausting.
yeah, it's just been really exhausting, like 10 days. Which is not just here, it's also classes starting and
Right.
having some real struggles getting into classes and evening commitments from all sorts of different places and just like feeling like I need this 3-day weekend really bad.
Oh, because you have no school on Monday.
Yeah, we don't understand.
I've just been saying to Sam, if I can get to Friday night, then I can just like
I'm
collapse.
just leave this with you. That's the
Great.
my typed up thing
Perfect.
that I shared oil of it.
Yeah.
You were-
And I love what she said about even Laura being out in the world. Like you said that about how if I need to stay engaged with either soup kitchen or healthy
We're gonna
social. I love that
shred
you
everybody's
got that,
things.
you know, I think that's
You
really
can
good.
do
You're right, and maybe
What I would suggest with the goal,
Well, and many schools do that.
Yeah, it's great.
And I think
it might be
for
helpful
them
to
it's
keep each
important
other's goals so
for
that we
me
can
also,
Yeah.
keep
personally
those
to
in
be
mind
doing
and be
something.
helpful to each other.
you know, that's
Um,
keeping me
Grounded.
out of the
So you
bubble.
guys can shred everything but the goals
Okay.
for each other so that
Okay.
we're aware of each other's goals and can be helpful. Yeah, so we don't meet again for is it 2 weeks?
Yes.
On Friday and Saturday?
Next
Yes.
Friday, 3 of us will be
Yes, so if,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gina, if you were taking
I
notes,
did
could you just type them
school
up and
there
just
with
send them
the-
via email?
Yes,
so that,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that I remember and we all are on the same.
We're prophets in the future, not now.
We're gonna use that in team, as it says about the plant the seeds, you don't see
Oh,
the
yeah.
tree grow.
Yeah.
We
It's one of my
Can I
favorite.
keep your verbatim that you wrote? That was really
Yeah,
brilliant.
absolutely, that's fine with me.
Prodigal.
Yes, I
Yeah,
thought that was really cool.
I was actually thinking sometimes
That was very cool.
sometimes pastoral care journals will publish like student reflections.
You
as-
totally get
this
that
was
part.
someone
That
who
was
did-
brilliant.
This was someone who did CB and they wrote this during CB. That
Well, I'm happy to submit it anywhere, if you let me know where to send it.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I had one. I wouldn't want. And I'm ignorant on this. I wouldn't want Jews to be offended.
Yeah, and that's the part that I would be happy to edit, because I'm not
Yeah.
sure, I wasn't sure either. Right.
Let me go to the restroom.
Sure, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It wasn't like central to the.
No, it was something that just came to me.
It's really nice. It's really great.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
I like-
fun to write, I
I
enjoyed
like
it.
yours too.
Oh, you can
Because it's-
submit it
it's-
somewhere, I don't care, it's
Well,
different.
it's so important. It's an interfaith perspective. People don't hear.
The goddess, yeah, they don't know anything about the goddess.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. What? No, well, I kind of feel like you'd be surprised. I mean, I have definitely met some pagans here in the hospital.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You would never know it. Like, but they'll tell me, they'll start talking about something, and there's a lot of earth-based spiritual. But young people, like, it resonates with a lot of young people, this whole earth-based spirituality.
That's exactly what Church of the Woods is about.
Yeah, I would
It's-
totally love
it's
that
not,
Church of the Woods.
It's,
I could tell.
there's a Christian iteration, but I was having this conversation with the priest up there, and he was like, nature and the earth is like one of the biggest ins into
Yes.
spirituality.
Yep. Yep,
But
yep.
it is, I used to
And
walk all
and
the
churches don't do
time
that.
in the
Churches don't
forest.
think of it.
That was my
They
best
sort of sideline it.
I will never forget.
prayers, meditation ever.
I was so angry. When I was getting married, I remember, I don't know, it's Catholic church. I don't even know why I asked for the Catholic church. Anyway, doesn't matter. And they wouldn't let me get married outside. I'm like, why? So closest to God outside. I would think it was New York or Connecticut. I can't remember which one.
I got married outside in the Catholic service.
Well, it wasn't okay with whichever. So maybe it was kind of, I don't even know. I was like, well, forget it. I don't need Catholic
Barefoot,
church. I'll just go.
long blue gauze dress,
And it was
flowers
goddess
in my hair.
dress?
You would have.
Oh, I
you
would have
been
loved
very
it.
proud of
You
me.
have to show me
Hair
pictures
down to
sometime.
my waist,
Oh, I would have loved it.
up on a hilltop. It was a Jesuit who married us.
Oh,
We taught with him.
Jesuit priest.
Further University.
Well, the woman who married
It was
me,
beautiful.
she started this goddess group that I went to until she. Well, no, I'm still part of it actually. It's just morphed, and she actually said to everyone in the receiving line later, "God bless, God bless." And you know, I was Catholic, so my family was great.
Well, at our wedding, Sam's entire family was complaining about having to sit through a whole church service, which is ironic because they're all the cradle Episcopalians.
Oh my
Um,
God!
And my family was like, cool. And their sister was like, why do we have to sit through this service? So the entire sermon was basically like, why church? Why is church important to this couple? Why are we here today?
Oh my God!
It was so funny because you could watch the people in the congregation just start
Bristle.
to like squirm a little bit.
Mm.
Well, I had a good friend of mine call me one day and said her daughter was getting married. And I said, oh, great. And she said, yeah, we want you to perform the ceremony. I said, you realize I can't do that. And she said, but you're the most spiritual person we know. You'd be perfect.
You
And
would be
I'm like, yes, except my church would then excommunicate me.
Ugh.
Well,
And that would not
Only if
work
they
well.
find out.
Only if they find out, yes.
Well, I walked a fine line. I had friends who were getting married in
Wyoming, and they asked me to do the ceremony.